In today's video, we are talking about if you should wait to sell your home or put it on the market as soon as possible if you're planning on selling in 2025, and some things you should maybe think about if you're interested in selling. Well, here we go, let's get started. First off, it is currently March. We're heading into April very rapidly, and snow is melting outside here in Fairbanks, Alaska. So a lot of people are considering about putting their house on the market. Now, if you're military, we know with PCS orders, you're gonna have to sell at a drop of a dime at any given point of the year. So we're not really specifically talking to you. What we normally do in the spring is list the civilian population or Alaskan Native population or the Fairbanks local population's homes. So what happens typically, everybody has their own reasons for why they do this, but every year we kind of take a little time out in the winter, and most Alaskans either park it and snowbird, but they really don't think about selling their homes. And the biggest reason I've heard of is because people don't want to move at negative 30-degree temperatures. Nobody wants to drag that dresser outside through the 4 feet deep snow. Nobody wants to slip on some ice while carrying a box to their U-Haul and slip a disc in their back or something like that. So a lot of Fairbanks people kind of take a time out from real estate in the winter, pick it back up in April 1st. I know you're gonna say there's still snow on the ground April 1st. Well, that's because if you look at how long it takes to go through escrow and get your house actually sold, accept an offer, get through the appraisal, inspection, repair negotiation process, and all of that stuff, you're gonna be moving after the snow is gone if you list your house around April 1st. And a lot of people say April 1st like it's a hard date. We're just generally talking the first 2 to 3 weeks of April in the spring season, or what we here in Fairbanks and Alaska call breakup season. So as the snow and ice is breaking up, everyone's getting ready to list their houses, and I am a testament of yes, there are plenty of properties about to hit that market. So should you list your house now? Let's call this the 13th of March, or should you wait until April 1st? Or should you maybe keep waiting until May, June, July, August, September, or again into later winter season next year? Well, it's really a personal decision. You know, when do you want to move? What are you looking at the buying? What is your goal? Are you moving out of state? Or are you just going to buy a different house here locally? Are you looking at maybe moving to a renting situation while you figure out what your future plans are and you're taking advantage of the busy season? We're going to dig into all of that in this video, so stay tuned as we go along. So, things to consider if you're thinking about selling your house. First off, when to list your home, how much to list your home for. Your realtor is going to help you with all of that, but to save the conversations, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks. First off, get your house as clean and tidy as possible and figure out your reason for selling. Is it to get rid of the property as quick as possible? Is it to get to your next location as soon as possible? Is it to make as much money as possible? In the end, you can have multiple goals, but some of these are conflicting, right? A lot of people are going to call me and say that they want to sell their house. As is going to take a lot longer time to sell and is going to scare away a lot of potential buyers, because in a buyer's mind, as is means there's something wrong with the house and you, the seller, are trying to hide it from me. Whereas when you're looking at it from a seller's point of view, they're really just trying not to deal with repair negotiations, being nickeled and dimed on different repairs, and they're trying to send a message that, hey, my house is in good shape, I've had no issues with it, I want to sell it. What I'll tell you is, here in Fairbanks, you're gonna have to go through that process. Throwing something like as is on your house is almost a death sentence. Only thing that might be worse is contingent on military orders or contingent on my sale of my house in Timbuktu or something like that. And luckily, we're not seeing a lot of those right now. PCS season is quickly approaching us, which means a lot of military people are going to start moving up here. The military does PCS year-round, going back to my earlier comment in the video, where I mentioned that when you get orders, you're just going to have to sell your house and deal with the season that it is. Let's dig into some of the pros and cons of selling your house in the winter versus the summer before we get back on track for the rest of the video. In the winter, there's lots of benefits to selling your house. Number one, there's less competition. Keep in mind, as a seller, your competition are other homes like yours that are not yet comps. So comps are comparable homes, and that's how we price homes, but an active property is not a comp. It is your competition, which I know, confusing with acronyms, but it's your competition. So you want to sell your house before they sell their house, because the people that are interested in their house might be the same people that are interested in your house. Well, in the end, the house that is priced the best and looks the best is gonna win. Location and other things do matter. The realtor might matter, but in the end, your home and your location and your value are what matter most. So if you do have a lot of competition, like in the summertime, we're actually trying to undercut your competition just a little bit to make your house look more appealing. In the winter, with less competition, we can actually try to get you that higher price point because there's less people competing against you. That being said, in the winter, you have other problems like snow, accessibility, less people looking. So the major negative point of selling your house in the winter is less buyers are actively looking at properties like yours. So it's kind of a trade-off. You have less competition, but you also have less people buying. And so therefore it could take longer to sell your house. So my number one recommendation, if you're trying to sell your house in the winter, start early. It could take a long time, and have contingency plans on what happens if you sell your house too soon. Now let's focus back on the topic at hand. Should I list my house now in the spring, or should I wait until summertime? Well, I'll tell you, the same rule kind of applies in a smaller setting. If you're trying to get the most out of your money, or most money out of your house, I think it's probably better to hit the market before April 1st because, again, there's less competition. Some buyers are getting impatient and they might jump on your house before waiting for the other ones to hit the market, especially our military brothers and sisters, because they are in temporary housing and that runs out, and then everything gets more expensive as you're paying for Airbnbs, hotels, and everything else. Some people might think it's a good idea to rent a house before they buy one, but all that's going to do, especially if you're here for a fixed amount of time, is reduce the amount of equity that you can build in your home before leaving at the end of your tour. So if you are moving up here as military, different video, different tip, but buy a house right away because you're going to build more equity having the house for 3 years instead of only for 2. And that way, when things like commissions, closing cost fees, possible repairs, and septic replacements hit you at the end, you have the equity to pay for those and still walk away with a profit. Whereas at 2 years, you probably won't. Keep in mind with the VA home loan, you're upside down on pretty much that entire house your entire first year because you have somewhere between a 2.3 and a 3.3% funding fee. So yes, you don't have a down payment, but that's not always a positive thing when you're looking at selling in a short period of time. Moving right along, other things to consider, the value of houses. So this is kind of a negative side because when we list our homes in the spring, the comparable homes that we're pulling actually usually have a lower value in the winter and then jump up through the spring sale, and the summer is when you have the best comps for your house. So that's stuff you got to consider. The value of your house does fluctuate throughout the year. And I hate to say it like this, but this is the best way to get people's attention. Your house isn't worth anything. Your house is worth the average of the other homes like yours in the area that have sold in the last 6 to 8 months. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if your house is worth $500,000 and you put $200,000 worth of repairs into it, it's not worth $700,000 magically. It's worth somewhere around what you paid for it, plus the adjustments compared to the other houses that have the same stuff that you have. It's a very complicated, long process. A lot of people think realtors can just look at your house and boom, there's the number. We actually have to sit down for about an hour, run comps, and do adjustments to get you a good number. And if you're not getting comps and adjustments from your realtor, probably ask other realtors for their opinion too. Because yeah, it's our job to prove to you what your house is worth, not to tell you what your house is worth. That's my opinion. I don't represent any opinions of realtors or anything else like that. That's my personal opinion. I think that data is what drives this industry, and without data, you're just working with magic and hopes and wishes. So hopefully this video will give you some information, but yes, if you are trying to sell your house as soon as possible, put it on the market as soon as possible. If you're trying to get top dollar for your house, maybe wait until April or May to get some higher comps. But in the end, that could mean that you lose out on the buyers that are looking for your house. The science of pricing your home is very easily understood. The art of selling your home is something totally different. And the art piece factors in that we don't know when the buyers that are gonna buy your house are actually looking. But we're trying to use data to put your house on the market at the right time for somebody that we don't even know is out there looking. I got a great example right now. I got a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, which is probably on the inside the best house I've ever sold. I mean, this lady went balls to the wall and made it a top tier home, but it's still a very small footprint in a very small house in the downtown area. Well, the issue we're having is, even though I think her house should be worth more, even though I think this house should sell in 2 days because of how beautiful it is, it still is only gonna appeal to the people that are looking for 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom homes. So if I'm looking for a 3-bedroom house, it doesn't matter how nice her home is, I'm never gonna look at it because it doesn't meet my needs. And so that's what we're experiencing right now in the market. She has no competition. She is the only nice 1-bedroom house on the market. The rest of them are complete crap or in the worst possible locations or way overpriced. But we have one that I think checks most boxes for anybody looking for a one-bedroom home. And in the end, I think it's going to sell to probably be a short-term rental or possibly something of that sort. Anyway, long story short, we're getting lots of interest on the property. It's only been on the market for about 5 days, and we've already had 4 showings in those last 5 days. So we're definitely getting the appeal, the interest for even such a small niche like a one-bedroom, one-bathroom house. That being said, had I listed her house maybe 3 weeks from now in April, there might be more competition there. So now we're not the only one that looks that good, but we have some competition out there. Other comps are going to expire, so we got to keep in mind your comps are only good from today, sold yesterday basically, and then up to 1 year depending on the lender, but they really like to see them within 6 months. So 6 to 12 months is that window that lenders like to look at for comps when they do the appraisal. If I got good comps now that are going to expire in 8 months, I need to hit the market now because I can't predict what the houses are going to sell like in the next few months. And the comps that I was going to use to get that value are going to be gone, and the value might actually decrease because of lack of data. And lack of data is a huge reason why the market is actually restricted. If we can look back 2-3 years, you'll see housing volume climb quickly as far as value goes, because we can now average out over a 3-year period instead of a 6 to 8 month period. And that changes numbers dramatically. If you, for example, had a big house that had 6 bedrooms, it is very hard to find any comps ever for that because Fairbanks isn't known for having big houses with numerous bedrooms. We do have plenty of 2,000 square foot homes that have, let's say a 3 or 4 bedroom layout, but 5-6 bedrooms, even in a house that can easily fit that much room, is very uncommon here. So hopefully this kind of tells you when you should sell your house. In the end, thanks for paying attention. It is a great time to list your house right now. Things are flying off the shelves because of our low inventory. Interest rates have been stagnant for about 2 years now, so I think people are just getting used to what the home value and interest rates are. And on average, we're expecting a growth of about 3% in home values over the next 12 months. So that means if you're waiting for the interest rates to drop or the prices to drop, you might be shooting yourself in the foot. And here in the next 6 to 12 months, you could be paying even more, which, don't worry, I know you're going to say, well, I'll just keep waiting, but I don't see a downturn in housing prices anytime soon. Especially here in the Fairbanks market, the number one thing that is our limiting factor is supply and demand. So quick economics lesson will just tell you that with us only having 72 homes on the market today and a projection of about 104 over the next month, that we're not seeing a growth in supply that meets demand. Keep in mind, Fort Wainwright just did a huge expansion project, going to bring a lot more jobs and soldiers to our community, and that is going to cause another housing crisis this summer. If things get as competitive as we expect, that could drive prices beyond that 3% growth, making it even more expensive. The only way to get prices down in the Fairbanks area, not nationwide, is if builders come up here in droves and start building houses like crazy. I work with a lot of builders. I don't want to say majority of the builders here in town, but a lot of the builders. And we're only projecting somewhere between 4 and 6 homes being built that I know of. That is the spec home industry. You're going to have some custom homes, but those don't come up for sale. Those properties are pre-purchased and built for those owners. So if you're looking for a home, plan extra time, list your home early, get with a realtor as soon as possible and talk about market trends between the spring and summer seasons, and then talk about a predictive data analysis looking into the summer months on what we're looking for as far as inventory on the seller side and competitiveness on the buyer side to really get the best information about your house and what you're looking to do as far as when to sell and how much to sell your house for. Thank you from Fairbanks, Alaska. I love everything you guys are commenting on all my different platforms. Thank you for subscribing and staying tuned, and we'll see you next week on the next video.